Welcome back. It is the Lee Sullivan Show. We're visiting with Stephanie Somerset, talking about, well, we're talking about your rights and, you know, what's right and what's wrong and what makes sense and what doesn't make sense and how the government is saving us from ourselves, no matter what it costs us or what they have to take away from us to do that. The dogs on the beach. We got ATVs and got helicopters. We got them surrounded. It doesn't make any sense, you know. But that gets to be the point now, and we will continue our visit with Miss Somerset as she talks about where they have come from, where they are now, and where they anticipate they will go. And I want to remind you that it is sometimes there is an issue that serves a broader issue. I mean, sometimes there is a point, and you say, well, that really doesn't make any difference. And I challenge you this morning to look at a broader context and not think that this is nearly as innocuous as you might believe that it is. So where do y'all stand now?
I'll tell you that after I tell you one other thing I forgot to mention before.
Okay.
I think the culmination of this whole thing really came when that park spokesman got on the radio and said, I can shut this whole island down if I want to. That got a lot of people's attention. And everybody should care about this, not just people with dogs, but boaters. I came away with the feeling, you know, if I wanted that kind of love and attention from my government, I might as well just move to Cuba.
Right.
It's just crazy. And that got us a lot of supporters, too, because everybody who's a boater, or anybody who's in the tourist industry, anybody who enjoys Shell Island should care about how our government treats us out there. It's our government. Our tax dollars pay for our government to serve us, and we get treated that way. It was not a good feeling for a lot of people, and that's why we got formed. But also, if you look at the economics of it, 40% of the population owns dogs. There are 20,000 boaters in Bay County, and that makes for a contribution to the economy of about $120 million. So we're not just people with dogs. We matter.
Right.
We matter.
And you have to break that down into economics, but you make a point. Well, somewhere along the line, I hear something about the Audubon Society in this mix.
Yes.
I know. Candace Harbison was the president. She's not the president now, though, but she's running for county commissioner. Wasn't she the president of the Audubon Society?
I believe she's been the president at least once.
Okay. But this was not in this. Maybe not in this time. Go ahead. I digress. Look,
Yeah.
But the Audubon Society finds itself in this mix somewhere, don't they?
Absolutely. They are very involved with the state park system. They're
Right.
very involved with DEP. It's a wonderful organization, and I very much appreciate their hobby, bird watching. The birds are beautiful, and I do believe most people want to preserve the birds. What we're asking is, let's don't go to extreme. Let's be reasonable. In fact, I've reached out to the Audubon Society and already recommended that our two organizations work together. Shell Island's huge. What they're saying is habitat is going away. That's why we have to preserve Shell Island. See, we think that some of these things are exaggerations, and what we want to do is hold people accountable for the truth. Habitat, there's a lot of habitat right next to where our recreation area is. By the way, the state park is for recreation, for humans. Right next to our recreation area, 15 miles of unspoiled habitat that Tyndall maintains.
Do you believe that you could take could you like put your four-wheel drive, your ATV on your boat and take it over and drive it on Shell Island?
I don't know. But I'm sure that they'll come up with a rule that says you can't do that. Although the park patrol can, but
they weren't really wearing helmets, were they?
They were at the beginning of the summer. Later they switched to baseball caps.
Okay, cool.
All right. Okay, now
y'all are dangerous people. A helicopter. Okay, I'm sorry.
Back to the Audubon Society.
Yes, ma'am.
We are asking the Audubon Society to be reasonable and work with us. And we look forward to working with them as we go through this process, which you've asked me about and I haven't gotten to yet. But we look forward to working with them. And we want them to be reasonable. The story, okay, here's the story they say. Dogs cause the birds to fly up and the eggs cook. There aren't any eggs cooking out on Shell Island. They're not cooking sunny side up. They're not cooking scrambled. There aren't any eggs cooking. That's a myth. And somebody needs to stand up and say, you need to be accountable and you need to tell the truth. And the Audubon Society has shown in the past that it's not just dogs that they're concerned about. The Audubon Society has closed down 3 islands just this year in South Carolina to people and dogs. In Wrightsville Beach, North Carolina, they've cordoned off 30 acres of prime oceanfront property. And they've asked to be paid to monitor it and to keep people out. Not just dogs, people and dogs. So what we're
I'm familiar with a little bit of that with the turtle nesting. You know, we pay people a lot of money to do that.
Well, absolutely. And in South Carolina, it's the taxpayer dollars paying for that. There are beaches being closed off all up and down the East Coast. In Long Island, they canceled their annual fireworks because it might disturb the birds. Now, what we're saying is we can coexist with the birds. The wildlife is very adaptable, and it has been out at Shell Island for decades. There's no crisis. A fake crisis was created.
Well, you'd think if the dogs were the problem with the birds, there weren't any birds left, wouldn't you?
Right. Well, you're right up among us. Makes sense, Lee. You're making sense.
You'd think that with all this uncontrolled barking and running around all of these years that there would not be one of the little feathered devils left. Oh, gosh. It's the Lee Sullivan Show. Stephanie Somerset.